1. So I matched with this dude who seemed nice, and we agreed to meet up at a coffee shop. Talking is kind of awkward, but from the get-go he was giving me some neckbeardy vibes. Example: I complimented his American traditional style tattoo, and his response was, "Huh? I didn't think girls would know anything about tattoos." Note that this was after me talking about the tattoos I have. He also tried to forcefully order for me, which I brushed off like, LOL, no, figuring it was all whatever, he's just nervous and trying to show off or some shit. Everything was still going okay until he walked me to my car. We hugged and he leaned in for a kiss. I think, whatever, I don't care, that's fine. We were making out a little and I felt his hand moving up to my face, and I thought, oh, okay, he's just going to put his hand on the back of my neck or my chin or in my hair. Nope, I was wrong. So wrong. This motherfucker decided it was a swell idea to start choking me. At this point, it would be pertinent to mention I'm a 5'8" female of average size, and he was a 6'2" stocky dude. I froze because that's my response to threatening situations, and he leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Yeah, you like that? You like being daddy's little slut?" I was just sitting there waiting for him to let go of my neck because I am pinned against the car. I finally managed to stammer out a, "What?" And he proceeded to tighten his grip and repeat the question, to which my survival instincts are screaming, "Say what you need to." So I just managed to choke out, "Yes, sir," and he let me go. I proceeded to get the fuck out of there and chewed him out after the fact. 2. This was by far the most terrifying, hilarious date I had ever been on. Years ago, I was a junior in high school and he was in college. We had been texting casually for a few weeks. One weekend, he met my friend and me at a local concert. When it was over, the friend I got a ride from had to leave urgently, so this guy offered to drive me home. No big deal, I thought. I needed a ride. We went to dinner and it was very nice. Nothing weird, nothing suspicious. Then came the ride home. My house was about 45 minutes away through isolated freeways in the desert. Accepting a ride was not my proudest moment, I admit. He talked the entire ride, and it went from normal small talk to him saying that he has superpowers. He said that he was in high school, he went to an alternative dimension and couldn't find his way back. The only way for him to find his way was to sell his soul to a merchant he found in this other dimension. When he got back to this dimension, he had superpowers and could control people's emotions. He then creepily leaned over and said, "I can make you feel anything right now." He also said that he knew the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and that he was going to help me during the end of the world. At this point, I was convinced I was going to end up in a garbage bag on the side of the road. But I got home safe. Never talked to him again until he was my server at a restaurant years later, and it was extremely awkward. 3. I had 3 doozies in a row. The first seemed pretty decent, and if he had just stuck with beer, he probably would have been fine. But I'm a whiskey drinker, and he opted to join me. He got wasted and confessed he was, 1, looking for an older woman to take care of him financially, 2, a very sensual lover, shouted slurringly in my ear, much to the amusement of the people next to us, 3, desperate to have children very soon. The second guy took me to a party and sort of ditched me with a group of his friends, who were very nice and all polite. I learned quite a bit about their lifestyles, which was interesting. They were polyamorous, but every time I glanced up, he was watching me intently, but like hiding behind posts and creeping around corners. When I finally approached to say goodnight after having had zero interaction with him, he launched into this thing about needing to be sure I would be down with his lifestyle. He was just odd, that one. The last one unfortunately got fired that day and really should have cancelled. When he found out my job, sucking the corporate American teat all the way to the bank, he just lost his shit. I mean, I would have been insulted, but it was also amazing to see someone completely break with all social norms and just spew every insecurity for the whole pub to witness. I paid his tab and scooted out of there. I felt really bad for that guy. 4. Went on a date with a guy once and he said he had to stop off at home for his wallet. He lived down the street from me. I went inside with him and he ended up pulling me down onto his love sack as a joke and trying to hook up with me. I got up and left and walked home. Fast forward a year and I read in the local news that he was arrested for kidnapping and raping a woman that he had been on a date with. He held her captive in his apartment and beat her and assaulted her. He could have faced life in prison, but only spent about 6 years in before he was released on parole. 5. I met this guy online, texted a lot, and I thought, hey, why not go out on a date? Well, there were a lot of things he failed to mention, such as his extreme Tourette's. Every sentence had a swear word thrown in randomly, and he would interrupt me constantly, which I brushed aside because I've met people with the syndrome before. His height was almost a foot less than his profile said. Said he was just over 6 foot, but I'm 5'7" and I towered over him. And of course, forgot to mention the 6 other girls he was in a relationship with. I was uneasy initially because of how much he failed to mention, but it got worse. He took me to a massive antique store. We both love old things. Which was basically the creepiest warehouse I've been in. It was dimly lit with all sorts of creepy dolls lining the wall. Not my kind of antique store. So we're walking through the store with him randomly shouting swear words, and I just want to go home. He kept grabbing my shoulder, cupping the shoulder and squeezing hard, then would run his hand down my back and grab my ass. I tell him I'm not comfortable with it, and he grabs my hand and pulls me into the bathroom at the end of the shop, throws me against the wall, so I end up on my hands and knees. I'm in shock now at this point. Locks the door, lowers his pants, and thrusts his junk into my face. When I didn't follow his request, he grabbed my jaw and tried opening my mouth. A finger slips in, and I take the opportunity to bite it. This freaked him out, screaming, "What the fuck is wrong with you? I just want a blowy." And I stand up, slap him across the face, and get out as soon as possible. I'm crying while running out of the shop, and the shopkeeper stops me and asks me what's wrong. I explain what just happened, and he looked over to see my date chasing after me. He was arrested on sight and haven't heard word from him since. Thankfully, I'm with a wonderful man, so it all worked out in the end.